In this video, we'll be going over the IRS Interactive Tax Assistant that helps taxpayers determine how to report forgiven debt on their residence due to either a foreclosure, a repossession, abandonment, or because of a loan modification or short sale. So a short sale is when you sell your residence for less than what you owe on the mortgage, and the bank agrees in writing to absorb the difference. For example, if you owed $150,000 on your mortgage and you tried to sell it for $100,000, you would end up owing the bank $50,000. If the bank agrees to the sale, then that would be considered a short sale. So you'll need to know your tax filing status, and you'll also need a copy of your Form 1099-C, cancellation of debt, which you should receive from your mortgage lender no later than January 31st of the year after your forgiven debt. So this should take about 10 minutes. We'll go ahead and begin. So we are able to pick 3 tax years. I'm going to select 2023 being the most recent tax year. Before we move forward, I wanted to take a moment to highlight this. Anytime you see the blue text in this interactive tax assistant, you can click on it and a pop-up will appear that will give you a little bit more background on that particular term. So the IRS considers for individuals that your tax year is the same as the calendar year, unless you happen to maintain records based on a fiscal year. And the IRS defines fiscal year as any 12-month period that ends at the end of a month other than December. For example, the federal government operates on a fiscal year that ends on September 30th each year. So what was the event that caused the cancellation of debt? You can select a foreclosure or a repossession, a short sale, a voluntary sale, or a loan modification. Let's say that we decided to do a short sale. So the first question is, were you personally liable for the debt? We'll say that we were. Was your debt cancellation intended as a gift? So if you click this pop-up, it will say that debt cancellation intended as a gift is not considered taxable income to the debtor. So if we select yes, we'll reach the end of the interactive tax assistant because it says you don't have cancellation of debt income. You may have a gain or loss on the sale, a short sale of a home, if you've realized it, but you may be able to exclude the capital gain on that sale. And that is outside the scope of this interactive tax assistant. But in the show notes, I'll put in links to forms that you may need to complete to calculate a gain or loss on a sale. So let's go back and let's say no. So what was the outstanding balance immediately before the sale? So let's say we'll use our example of $150,000. And then what was the amount that you were immediately or liable for immediately after the sale? We'll enter 0. The fair market value of the property before the sale was $100,000. Now, was your cancellation of debt due to bankruptcy? We'll say no. Were you insolvent immediately before the debt was canceled? We'll say no. Now, how much of the debt did you incur in either buying your house, building your house, or substantially improving your house? We'll say all of it. We might circle back and change this answer in just a minute. Was your debt cancellation directly due to the decline in the value of your qualified residence? We'll say yes. Housing prices took a pretty big drop and that directly impacted us. We did receive a Form 1099-C. We are not married filing separately. So you do have cancellation of debt income. However, none of this canceled debt is taxable because you're able to qualify to exclude it as qualified principal residence indebtedness. To claim this exemption or this exclusion, you would have to file IRS Form 982, reduction of tax attributes due to discharge of indebtedness, with your tax year return for the year in which your debt was canceled. So we'll put a link in the show notes to an article and a video we've created for IRS Form 982. You may also realize a gain or a loss on the sale. And then you can see all of your answers in the review screen. When we get to the end of this video, I'll take a second look at a review screen. I'll kind of go over some helpful hints that should be useful for when you're filing your tax return. So let's go back and let's change this answer to part. So how much of your debt was not spent? Let's just say that you had a home equity line and you took out you refinanced, you took out $20,000 to pay off credit card bills. Other than that, all answers remain the same. Was the interest on the debt forgiven? So if there's any forgiven debt or any interest forgiven and it's included in the amount of the debt, it would be in box 2. So the interest portion of that will be in box 3. So the canceled debt is in box 2. The interest portion is in box 3. Would the interest have been deductible if you had paid it? We'll say yes. You have cancellation of debt income, and then part of your canceled debt is taxable. So you qualify to exclude part of your canceled debt, but only part of it. The portion of the loan that was not used to acquire, construct, or substantially improve your residence is not considered qualified principal residence indebtedness. So based on the fact that you had $150,000 of total debt and your house was worth $100,000, that means you had $50,000 involved in that forgiven debt. $20,000 by admission was used to pay off credit cards, so the only amount that you can exclude is the remaining $30,000. You would exclude the unpaid interest on the debt because you would have been able to deduct it. However, the way you would report it is you'll file IRS Form 982 to exclude the part that you're eligible to exclude. The remaining $20,000 would be considered cancellation of debt income. You would report that on Schedule 1 and include that when you file your tax return. So let's go back and let's pick a different type of situation. Let's just say that you had a foreclosure. You were personally responsible for the debt. It was not a gift. Let's say that there was $150,000 outstanding. After the foreclosure, you were responsible for none of it. The fair market value was $100,000. The outstanding balance was $150,000. Your cancellation of debt was due to bankruptcy. Let's just say that. And you were insolvent. Let's say that all of it was used in your principal residence. And your debt cancellation was directly due to the decline in value. Let's say that was not the case. You did receive an IRS Form 1099-C. You're not married, filing separately. The interest on the debt was forgiven, and it would have been deductible if you had paid it. So you have cancellation of debt income. However, because it's due to bankruptcy, it's not taxable. The same applies if you were insolvent, which the IRS defines as having liabilities that exceed your assets even if you have not filed for bankruptcy protection. In those two instances, your cancellation of debt income should not be taxable. However, you would exclude it by filing IRS Form 982. So let's go back. The only answer I'm going to change is your married filing separately status. So in this case, I don't know that it will make much of a difference. So, but some instances, there are tax benefits that you cannot claim if you are a married couple filing a separate tax return. So the last thing that I want to point out, I'll stop going through scenarios because we can do this forever. But what I wanted to do is take a brief look at the review screen. So you can, at the end of going through this tax form, print off the review screen. You can see the print button at the very bottom of this screen. What I would encourage you to do, because this is a tax assistant, it's an automated, part of the IRS website. It's not tax advice. It's not any kind of structured advice that would be considered reliable. So, but it is an assistant, and people do use this to help them understand how to file their tax return. So what I would encourage you to do is, if you do depend on this, print it out. Print it out. If you have to go back and forth a couple of times, what I would do is, close the browser, go back to the page, clear all the cookies from that page, and start over again. And then what you want to do is just review all of these fields to make sure that they're correct, that the numbers match up what you see on your Form 1099-C or in your records. And if you see a mistake, go back and fix it. Do this over and over until you get it absolutely right. And then print a copy and keep it with your tax return. If you get audited, it's not going to be right away when everything is fresh in your memory. It's going to be down the road when you've forgotten a lot about your tax return. And being able to pull this up will help you understand the facts as you had them in your tax return. And if you get audited, you'll be able to go over it with an examiner. If you owe taxes because you made a mistake, you're not going to get out of that, and you'll pay some interest to pay that back. But what you're looking to avoid are any penalties that may be associated with accuracy or inaccuracy, negligence, or attempted fraud. And all of these do have definitions within the tax code, but they're also subjective. So if your examiner believes that you exercise reasonable, due diligence, and you made an honest mistake, they may take your situation, they may consider it differently than if they get the impression that you were just throwing numbers around or trying to skirt around a tax issue. So keeping good records is important if you're ever audited, so that you can walk through your tax return with the examiner and get to the right resolution. So there were a number of forms that we mentioned during this video. I'll put links in the show notes to the articles and the videos we've created about each of those forms. If you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. And if you like our videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, comments, or if there's a topic you'd like me to discuss in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a great day.